We are now talking to Yankees Double-A starting pitcher Garrett Whitlock. What's going on, Garrett?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We are good, my friend. How are you and your family doing right now with this pandemic?
Hey, we're doing good. We're staying healthy and just trying to keep your head down.
Well, that's always good. So, Garrett, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself moving into the major leagues, being drafted by the New York Yankees, and now playing for one of their farm systems, one of their farm teams?
Well, it was great. I went to college here in Birmingham, Alabama, at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and I was drafted as a sophomore in 2017. It's funny. I was actually with my now wife. It was my girlfriend at the time. I was with her family and on the beaches of Gulf Shores, and Mike Wagner, my area scout, called me to let me know that they had drafted me, and I actually had missed the call at first, so I had to call him back to find out that, hey, I've been drafted by the New York Yankees, and that was obviously such an amazing time in my life, and it's a day I'll never forget. And yeah, so now we're in the organization trying to work my way up.
It's a With the Yankees, obviously a big name organization, of the biggest maybe in all of sports, just the biggest brand. When you found out you were going there, did your expectations get a little higher? Was there extra pressure because it was the Yankees, being that they're such a big name, they're the most accomplished professional sports team? Was there anything different, or again, you just took it as I got drafted, let's do this?
I'd say I was more excited. Like you said, it is the New York Yankees. It's such a recognizable name and everything, and so it was amazing, and I was so excited because I was like, you know what, now I get to work my way up and hopefully play on the big stage someday.
Now, Garrett, I look at your record right now in the minors. You're 12-8. You have a 2.41 ERA, but you, as a pitcher, you have 201 strikeouts, and your WHIP is 1.16. When you look at your growth as a pitcher, do you see yourself as a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher moving forward in the major leagues?
I would like to be a starter. I enjoy the routine that a starter has, and I enjoy the routine that I get into as a starting pitcher. But obviously, I'm just trying to help the Yankees win a World Series. So if they need me as a reliever, then I'll be happy to step in as that need is filled.
In terms of what you prioritize as a starting pitcher, we see a lot of managers now at every level that have innings limits, pitch counts, stuff like that. Does that change your method of how you pitch as a whole, knowing that you might come out earlier than you expect, or do you just approach it the same way you always have?
My approach has always been that I am supposed to go get outs until my manager tells me not to get outs anymore, and so that's the way I do it. I focus one out at a time, and I'm getting the next guy out until my manager comes and tells me, hey, good job, you're done.
We are talking to Yankees Double-A starting pitcher Garrett Whitlock. Now, Garrett, I've been watching baseball since I was a little kid. I grew up a Don Mattingly fan, but I grew up an Andy Pettitte fan as well. And when you look at the Yankees organization, they've had a problem finding starting pitchers. They haven't had a problem finding relief pitchers. They've always had good relievers over the years, a.k.a. Mariano Rivera, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest. When you look at the Yankees organization and the growth of starting pitching, do you see the Yankees moving forward or backwards with some of the young pitchers you've seen in their farm system?
I see him definitely moving forward. I mean, you look at the guys that we've traded for or just brought up through the system, and like Mike King is the best example that I can think of. I mean, this is me speaking out of knowledge, but I mean, we get him from the Marlins, and I mean, shoot, he turns into an absolute stud. And so, I love the direction we're looking, and everybody's looking really promising.
Talk about the actual team as a whole, your Double-A team. A lot of good prospects on there. The Yankees farm system has been very rich for a while. Are there any that have stood out to you, even just watching them when you're not pitching, between the hitters and even some of the other pitchers on that staff? I know Errol's raved about Devi Garcia before, Albert Abreu. How do you see those guys developing on your team?
Oh man, so I've been fortunate enough to play with Davey all the way back in the GCL, and I've kind of gone with him up through the ranks. And so, obviously he's such a talented pitcher, and it's a lot of fun. He's a great clubhouse guy. He works well with both the Americans and the Latinos. He's a great kid. And, I mean, he's so young, but he does have so much room and so much potential. And then another guy for the hitters. I mean, Chris Gittens. I mean, it's a guy that just year in and year out performs, puts up numbers. And I mean, he's another just amazing guy and just absolute raw talent. You love to have him on your team, so that way you don't have to face him.
As you guys know, we are talking to Yankees Double-A starting pitcher Garrett Whitlock. Garrett, Tommy Johns has really taken control of the major leagues with all the arm problems we've seen in and out, especially with the Yankees. You see with the Mets, they lost Noah Syndergaard. When you look at Tommy Johns, and I don't know, have you ever had Tommy Johns, by the way?
I just had it last July.
So this is a good question. Do you think you were worked harder as a young pitcher? Is that why you believe you got Tommy Johns? Or do you think it's just a distinct thing by the way you throw the ball, the way you throw the speed of the ball, the velocity of the ball? Is there a reason you think you got Tommy John surgery? Tommy Johns?
I think it varies from case to case and person to person. Like obviously, if someone had it figured out what causes it, they'd be a multi-billionaire by now. So like I'm definitely not gonna sit here and tell you like, oh, this is the exact reason I had it. But it's one of those things that when it happens, you overcome it and you gotta just push forward. And you gotta say, you know what, like I'm gonna come back better than this. And luckily, I've had such great support with the medical staff at UAB. And with the Yankees, they've helped out tremendously, and so I'm hoping to come back just as strong, if not stronger than before.
Have your coaches, since you had the Tommy John surgery, have they told you to do anything drastically different with your pitching style as a whole or your pitching approach?
They have not. They were happy with the way I was throwing beforehand, and they want me to come back doing the exact same thing.
Now, Garrett, when you look at some of the pitchers that you've seen, dominant pitchers like the Chris Sales of the world, and even the Garrett Coles, who the Yankees just paid a lot of money to come to the team, $326 million. Is there a particular pitcher, the style of the way he throws the ball, that you can compare your style to?
Obviously each pitcher is a lot different. I love watching Charlie Morton, just because I feel like I kind of try and pitch like him. I obviously don't have as overpowering stuff as he has, but I like the way he attacks hitters. I like the way that he goes about his business. Doesn't really seem to change much emotionally. Same thing with Rick Porcello. I love trying to emulate those guys, the way they pitch and the way they go about their business.
Charlie Morton went to my high school, so glad you fixed that answer.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yep. So, again, how about when you were growing up, pitchers you watched, pitchers you idolized, was there a big influence on your game as a whole as a baseball fan and also even as a pitcher, if it was a pitcher?
Oh, well, growing up, I lived right there and just outside Atlanta, so I was such a big Braves fan, and that was during the big three with Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. And, I liked to kind of look at all three of them and just try and say, hey, if I can get, some of what of all three of those guys brought, like maybe I could do something myself.
We are talking to Yankees Double-A starting pitcher Garrett Whitlock. Now, you talk about the Braves, and I remember a team that had the Braves numbers in the 90s, and that was the New York Yankees. And the Braves could have won 2 World Series championships if it wasn't for those 90 Yankees. When you look at the guys like Greg Maddux or Tom Glavine or Smoltz, when you look at their styles of pitching, and these two are 3 of the best pitchers of the 90s and really of our era, is there a particular pitcher that you thought was better than the other?
Oh, their styles were so different that you couldn't really say, oh yeah, Maddox was better than Smoltz because, he did this, this, and this, or Smoltz was better than Maddox because he did this, this, and this. They each had their own style and they both got results. And that's the thing, as a pitching staff, you're not really trying to compete with the other guys on your staff. You're a staff. You're trying to get the same goal together. And so, I definitely couldn't say one's better than the other.
Greg Maddux was very unique in the fact that he barely threw 90 miles an hour and he still was as dominant as he was. Whereas you see pitchers today, it's all about velocity, it's all about strikeouts. Do you think you'll ever see anything like a Greg Maddux, maybe not at that level, but a control pitcher and a finesse pitcher like that dominate the league ever again? Or do you think this is a new trend that's going to stay forever with the velocity?
Obviously I'm no future teller, but I'd like to think I'm sure there's definitely going to be another guy that's that control guy like Maddox and everything, because, at the end of the day, it's all about getting outs. And so whether you blow it by people or you get them to ground ball early or, get quick outs, getting outs is getting outs. So, I would say that no matter how you do it, if you can do it, you're going to be good.
Now, Garrett, the league has changed, and there is now the opener, and now the league is trying to maneuver where you can bring in 8 pitchers, 9 pitchers, and dominate a game where you don't have to get a starting pitcher to pitch 5 or 6 innings, and you can still dominate a game. Do you think this trend is going to change the game moving forward, especially with the New York Yankees?
I'm not sure. I definitely don't have the manager mindset, so I'm not as statistically thinking as they are. But like I said, as a pitcher, I'm focused on when my manager gives me my ball, I'm going to get outs until he tells me not to get outs, whether that be for 1/3 of an inning or for 7 innings. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to be cheering on my teammate as he's doing his job too. So I'm not sure I could answer that one.
Mentally, is there a difference in terms of the philosophies of coming in to close, coming in as a long reliever, and mostly as you are coming in as a starter? You had 38 starts the last couple seasons. Is there a different mentality to all that? And if so, you think that'll be helped out by the openers being a prominent thing in the league, or you think it'll be hurt?
I'm not sure if other people have the same mindset, but my college pitching coach, Josh Hopper, when I was in college, he told me what I've been saying is, what, you go out there and you get outs. And so that's kind of my mindset is, like, hey, whether I'm coming in the ninth inning or I'm coming out there and it's the first inning game just started, it's like I got to win these at bats. I got to win this inning. And so to me, it's the same mindset. I'm sure other guys would definitely disagree and everything, but that's how I view it.